All right, hello everybody. My name is Sandy Shaner, and this is Live Music Happy Hour. And tonight we have some very special guests with us. First of all, let's mention we are bringing back Michelle Bailey as our guest bartender for Happy Hour.
Hey
And
guys.
I hope that you all have your pen and paper out so you can learn how to make some cocktails at home while we get through our quarantine. We also have back tonight Mark White from the Spin Doctors. He's going to come on. Taz Taylor, for the Taz Taylor fans, couldn't get his technology working, so we're going to bring him back next week. But please stay on, watch, and enjoy yourselves. Mark White is going to tell us a few things going on with him musically. And then we have Mr. Billy SHeehan himself, who is, okay, how many bands has Billy been in? Let's just go with the current three. We'll go with the current three. The Winery Dogs, Sons of Apollo, and Talus are going to be the featured topics of tonight's conversation. So for those of you who are just now checking into Live Music Happy Hour, let me tell you the reason behind it. There is a cause behind it. First of all, we are not charging anything at all, and not asking for any money at all. That's not what this is about. This is to make you happy. It's to make you to feel some groove in your heart as you're going through this. Also, I'm a 501c3 founder of Carly's Cause. We work side by side with Mount Sinai Hospital, and up until this happened, we were putting together a lot of plans like concerts and all kinds of other fundraising efforts to do research on children with autism and intellectual disabilities and some other comorbid conditions. And they had come so far in their research, it was doing amazing. And then we got the email that everything's stopping, right? So we're going to just be riding out this wave just like you, but we want to just keep maybe Carly's Cause and Mount Sinai Hospital in your minds. And then later I might send you an invitation to come to a live concert. And at that time, I'm hoping you'll buy tickets and support the cause. So that's the whole purpose behind this. But hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and kick off Happy Hour. I'm going to do my wine bottle review because I found a gem. It is a total gem. Check this out. This is called Bread and Butter. Wow. I'm telling you right now, this is a Pinot Noir. It's a 2017. I had no idea what I was getting. I bought it because I liked the White Album and it had a white label. So I'm a big fan, and I'm like, hey, there's a good reason. And it was only $11 down from 18 because I was buying, like a 6-pack of wine. And I had some beef. I prepared some beef and some pasta, and I poured a glass of this and I drank it. I was like, wow, oh my God, this is amazing. So Michelle Bailey, I'd like to do a cheers with our crowd. Could you show us how to make a drink?
Absolutely. Do you mind if I just really quickly say thank you to everybody who bought our fundraiser t-shirts for the staff at Full Circle. They just came in today. So keep your eye on the Full Circle Saloon page on Facebook. I'm going to give details on pickup and drop off. So just wanted to say that quick. I'll give you details this weekend. As per request from my brother up in Orange County, I am going to be starting with a lemon drop martini. So I'm going to put ice in my shaker, and I am going to use Absolute Citron. Now remember, from the last couple of happy hours, I'm just using what I have at home. I'm trying to just kind of find the things that I can use and that I need. You can use any vodka, really. Citrus vodka I prefer because it is a citrusy flavor, but a regular vodka is fine because you're gonna flavor it with lemon and simple syrup and all that fun stuff. So we're gonna start with 2 ounces of Absolute Citron, and I'm spilling it all over the place. And then I like to mix all my stuff together. Some bartenders like to line the rim with sugar. I feel like that just gets a little messy. So what I do is I take some simple syrup, which there's super easy recipes online. It's just sugar and water. You can make your own if you don't have it, or you can use sugar. I mean, that's fine too. This is just what I prefer. I just do a little dash of that, not too sweet. And then I take some fresh lemon and I squeeze the fresh lemon into the shaker. Put my little cap on. Give it a good shake. Shake, 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 shake. And strain it out into the martini glass. Since you're at home, it doesn't have to be super fancy, but if we were at the bar, we would put a lemon on the side like that for you. And I guess we can get started by saying cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Billy's like, my hands are empty. Okay, thank you, Michelle Bailey. We're going to go ahead and move right along. Mr. Mark White, thank you for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine again.
You're doing fine again? All right, so you are the bass player for the Spin Doctors, and we had you on with a different audience a few days ago.
Right.
You just completely make people laugh. You have a great personality, and I wanted to have you pop back in and get a chance to hang out with Billy SHeehan, since you guys are both incredible bass players. And I got to just say this again. I saw Mark here in San Diego in February, and I just stood at the side of the stage where he was, you know, and everyone else is in front of the stage or the other side of the stage. And I'm like, what is he doing to that bass? Whoa. Like, he is so good. You have so many great riffs, and your style for 90s music, it's at a lot of the music that came out in the 90s wasn't really focused on that type of groove that you have with Aaron. So you tell us a little bit about who your influences are and how you developed your own technique.
Well, the first thing that happened was I heard a friend of mine told me about a guy who was using his thumb as a guitar pick. I don't know if it was Victor. I think it was somebody else, though. Victor Wooten. I don't think it was him, though. He told me this over the phone. So I tried to do it in my house. I was just, you know, but I wasn't doing it like that, of course. That's just now. But I had a problem. I did it at first, and I couldn't get a scale to do it. I was trying to do everything at one note at a time. So I actually gave up for like a year. And like the year before I got into Spin Doctors, I started working on it again, and I really worked on it for like 10 hours a day. And that's where my whole Spin Doctor sound came from, because, you know, I was using my fingers a lot, and Aaron doesn't like slapping, the drummer. He hates when I slap. So I use my thumb as a guitar pick, and it's almost like I try to make it sound like I'm just using my fingers. So if you don't actually see me doing it, it kind of looks like I'm using my fingers. Sounds like that, I mean.
You get a lot of defined notes, though. I was watching some of your videos, and
that's because I got a nail. I use a nail. See that little nail right there? Can you see my nail?
I can see your nail. Your nail is...
So it's just basic. I'm just going up and down. That's all I'm doing, going up and down.
That's great.
I try to play all, you know, the key is to play all of our Spin Doctor songs with just my thumb. So if it's really cold outside and I can't use my fingers, I just use my thumb.
Okay, but do you have other techniques that you've been working on recently?
Well, I've been working on Billy SHeehan's little 4-finger thing. I don't know if I can, so I can almost, let me see, I'll do it this way so you can actually see it. I'm getting it. This is the hardest, actually, this is the hardest thing I ever had to do. I tried to do 3 because, you know, I had that little accident where all my fingers I cut on my fingers. Actually, I cut on my tendons. So I had to, you know, I have to work a little extra harder than everybody else. But I couldn't do 3. So I did 4 because 3 just doesn't work. I don't know why it is. Just the way my finger hand rolls. Because like with Billy, he starts from here and goes this way. I can't do that because this finger is messed up. So I can, but somehow when I go this way, it's not messed up. But then it's still messed up if I don't use this. So I have to use all 4. And these 2 got stiff after, you know, I'm 57 now. So these 2 don't move as well. So I try to use all 4 now. Thank you, Billy. I gotta tell you something. Listen, I don't really want to talk about Spin Doctors, but like when I saw Billy, I saw with Mr. Big, and I don't know if you remember this, but I came to your show in Los Angeles, and they came out in the front. I don't know if you knew this, but I had credentials to go anywhere I wanted to in the theater. But I didn't feel like bothering you because I didn't really know you, so I just stayed out front until you came out. And then when YouTube came on, I saw that bass solo, which I watch almost at least twice a month. Because I don't know what the hell you're doing. It's like 6 minutes long. Where was that anyway? Does anybody know where that was?
Might have been a Budokan thing in Japan.
It's just like 6 minutes long. And I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, man, what? That doesn't even, it's like my blood pressure went up. It's rare. You know, and I was just like, how can anybody play like that? And it was just like, it was insane.
Oh, you're very kind to say. Thank you, man.
It is, so what it does is it made me realize that a bass solo should just smack you in the face. And I don't really like to hear people go. I stopped doing that. So now when I get out there, I just go, blah, 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 I just go all the way out because I feel, and people respond better to that because most people don't understand, you know, you're playing diminished or you're playing augmented. They don't know. They just like that. It's like a truck coming at you.
Yeah, sometimes you have to get people's attention. And I did a webinar 2 nights ago with myself, John Patitucci, Steve Bailey, Victor Wooten, and Lee Sklar.
Right.
And they asked Lee, how many records have you played on? And he said, probably about 23,000.
God.
And so they said, how many bass solos did you do? And he went, I think maybe one. So it's cool to do, and I enjoy doing it. And thank you for your kind words. But you know, if you've got great songs and a great band like you do, man, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's good too. I mean, you know what? We're all doing great. Everybody's got a different vibe. That's what makes the whole thing so good because there's you, right? And then there's like another guy I used to love, Bernard Edwards from Keith. He was like my super favorite bass player back when I was back in the 70s.
Right on. That's cool.
And then there's like, who else did I? And then, you know, then there's all the local cats that you grew up with. So a lot of my big influence was just people that I lived near. Like I had a guy that lived downstairs from me. He showed me a lot of stuff. So it's all that. You know, so it's everybody that you meet. And then it's different other music. Like it could be a piano player. It could be a horn player. It could just be anybody. Yeah, I'm talking to Billy SHeehan. I mean, do you realize something? I was reading because I had a guitar player magazine. I was telling her I had a guitar player magazine my friend gave me. And that's when I first saw you because you were in the magazine. And it was like in the early 70s. I don't want to date you, but it was like in the 70s or 80s. You had like a little bass column back there. And at the time, I didn't have any access to any music.
Right.
I was poor. I had no money. You know, I had nothing. So I only knew you from what you were talking about. And so I figured this guy's cool. And then when I finally got, somebody gave me a tape from Talus. I remember I had a tape from Talus when you were in Talus. And I was like,
yeah, how
is that even possible? But it wasn't like that bass. It wasn't like when I saw on YouTube, but it was still great. And I always had a place for you in my heart. Just wanted you to
very kind, my friend. Beautiful. Right back at you.
Thank you.
Well, when I first saw you play live, Billy, it was in San Diego at the Ramona Main stage, and it was Winery Dogs back in 2013 when you first released the self-titled album. And I know a lot of my girlfriends really like Richie. I get it. He's cute.
The girls like Richie.
Guitar player. I was standing right in front of you. I'm like, good God, because I already knew that Mike Portnoy was going to blow my mind because I'm a Dream Theater fan, you know. I'm really into progressive rock. But when I was standing in front and I got to watch that solo. Well, first I went knowing Elevate and really liking that song and a few of the other songs on the album. And then I just sat there and watched you do your bass solos. And I literally had I could touch the stage. I was right here. And I just said, okay, that's it. He's my favorite bass player. There's no going back from this. Someone else come along and show me something better and I'll bump Billy aside. But that's it.
Man.
Number one.
Billy, can I ask you a question?
Sure thing.
When you first started playing, why did you start using 3 fingers as opposed to just starting with 2?
Tim Bogert from the Vanilla Fudge did a couple of moves where he went,
right?
And that, because I originally started with just one. I played Yardbird song. We see like with one finger. I'll try to tune this down so we can see that finger. But then, so I went right from one finger, and I used to put this finger on top of it so it could go back and forth.
Double thumping.
And then I just went to the 3, and now I use the 4, similar to what you were describing before.
Right. So you're starting with your pinky?
Yes, I'm
Oh,
always
that's
because that's kind of the natural way.
yeah,
I know
yeah,
a special situation, but it's
right.
kind of the natural way. You know, if you're just
And I know you're right about that, but I can't. My hand is all screwed up, so I got to do it the other way.
yeah. But I love when you were describing how you play. That when there's a will, there's a way. It's amazing. Here you
I
are.
practice this 10 hours a day. I have this bass in my hand all day long. I just watch the TV. I just go like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, let me see if I can get it again. Because this is amazing for me because when I first started doing it, it was like this is impossible. I said, you know what? For the first time, I'm not going to give up because I've been giving up all this time. You can't get anywhere after 3 or 4 months. But for 2 years, I just do this.
Perfect.
So I just do that every day. And it literally it took me 10 hours a day in the hotel room. When I'm on a plane, I got a pencil. I just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I just keep doing it. Listen, like all the other techniques I have, I usually give up in the beginning because it seems impossible. Then I just go back to it again. And that's like, all right, and I got to do it 10 hours a day. And it's got to be at least 2 years. So I've been doing this for 2 years now.
Wow. Well, I do the same. Even to this day, I'll sit there for hours and just go with maybe a metronome and make sure I get it right in the pocket. That
right, exactly.
Goes for slow.
So let me ask you, so you decided to just do the 3 fingers all the time as opposed to some of the time. That's basically what you're saying.
Well, if I'm playing
right,
let's hang on that.
Yeah, I got you.
Then playing. Depends on if I got to get up to the microphone and sing.
Right.
As soon as you start doing the 3 and 4 fingers, now, like I always say, you want me to play simplified bass? Well, give me a part to sing. because I go from to do when you're singing. So that always helps it. But yeah, I try to be reasonable about it, use it where it's necessary.
Right.
If not, but a lot of people. Go ahead.
It actually makes me play 2 Princes better, because Aaron doesn't like for me to slap 2 Princes. I let everybody know that right now. But I couldn't, for some reason, these 2 fingers got stiff over a couple of years, and when I added the other 4, then I could go back to playing 2 Princes again. So now he's happy. So I just put those in there. They're not actually following a sequence, but it's close.
If it works and you get the notes you want, it's legal.
I have one little. I always have to have them in sequence, so I got to get around that. But it always has to be 1, 2, 3, 4. That's why I spend so much time on it, because I don't like for it to skip a finger. So I play in front of a mirror to make sure my fingers aren't skipping. It's just
I purposely sometimes practice the wrong way. The other.
Oh, look at you show off.
Wow.
Only because I think sometimes when you like I knew a guy one time, this guy was a nut, but he decided to walk backwards everywhere he went. And so he was always walking backwards just because he had the idea, well, you walk forward so much, when you walk backwards, you'll have a complete different point of view. So then when you walk forwards again, it'll be,
I like that idea.
Crazy, I know, but a little bit of lunacy of a principle there.
I used to ride my unicycle backwards all the time.
What was that?
I had a unicycle. I used to ride it backwards all the time.
You have video of that, Mark?
No,
I'll do a YouTube search tonight.
That was before video. There was no video cameras back then.
Okay. That was back in the day when there was 8-track cameras, right?
Right. I don't think the first time I saw somebody with video camera was in the late 80s.
Okay, so Billy, you brought up some of your techniques, and that was one of my questions that I had for you. Are you planning on maybe doing some of these type of online classes? Because people are home, and now is the time that they can really build their skills. So
I just did an online course for Yamaha, the Musicians Creativity Lab. But they ran into a problem advertising it in Europe because some EU law where it was crazy. So the launch got a little bit staggered.
Mhm.
but there's been people in South America, Southeast Asia, Australia, USA on it. But I just did, the other day we did a webinar with the gentleman I mentioned earlier, the bass players, but none of us were playing. So next time we're going to do it again, and everybody's going to have their bass there. We could talk a little bit about all our thingies, you know, and that could be pretty cool. But I don't necessarily do lessons, but I ran into a guy at a grocery store near me here, and he said, "Hey, can I come over to your house and have a bass lesson?" And I said, "Well, okay, why not?" So I invited him over. Because sometimes it's good when you do a lesson with someone, you really have to know how to explain what you're doing, which actually helps you understand it more. So I find many times if I do a bass clinic, seminar, masterclass, whatever you want to call it, I always learn more from anyone that's attending, just about how things work and how to explain it and where it might go from here and things like that. So I enjoy doing lessons, and at some point I probably will due to the situation at hand, I'll probably do some Skype style
Well,
lessons.
I'm actually really good at getting sponsors. I'm a really good salesperson. You know this because I've showed up face to face with you a few times to get you to come to Carly Scott stuff. So back when, right after the release of the Winery Dogs first, was it after the first one or was it after? Okay, so you did dog camp, right? Dog camp
Yeah.
was kind of like, but that was kind of like where you can pull musicians in and teach them how you guys are doing what you're doing. And that's a whole lot of information just to be one-on-one with any of you, but let alone to really grasp what happens in the Winery Dogs. You know, that's a super high level thing. Are the Winery Dogs thinking of repeating that someday?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna, our plan was to be writing this year and release next year. So our plan was, we got lucky with our plan because we won't be playing this year for sure, probably
Yeah.
for a while. So we hope to, but again, it was fun. You know, the Winery Dogs dog camp, it was out in the countryside, this facility with all these different camping things, and people would show up and we'd get together with them and jam our songs and jam other people's songs and bring all the musicians in from other bands too to jam with them and play. And all those people are all like our personal friends now. And it was really cool. It was a great thing. So whenever we play and it said, "Hey, somebody from dog camp is here. Come on, bring him back," you know. It was actually pretty cool. So
Well, I'm primarily a singer, a heavy metal type singer, though. I have a rock voice. And so I definitely want to attend a dog camp. I didn't know it existed, but while it was happening, but now I do.
Richie's got quite an amazing voice. We did, I think we did 9 in a row one time, and it was one guy singing the whole show all night. He didn't blow his voice out, so he's really learned. There's an amazing vocal coach named Ron Anderson. I think he may still be based in LA, but my voice is up 2 steps from learning his 2 whole steps from learning his technique, and Richie's worked with him also quite extensively. So that helps a lot in a situation like that.
Well, I want in on dog camp. All right, so I just saw you on your most recent tour. I went ahead and drove up to Orange County, and what was the name of that theater? Oh my goodness. The Grove? Was it the Grove?
Oh yeah, I think it was with Sons of Apollo.
No, this is Winery Dogs.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the Grove, the
Yeah.
theater in Orange County, and phenomenal bass solo. Mark, you should have seen that one. That's all I gotta say. That was incredible. Okay, tell us a little bit about this last tour, because this was where, from what I understand, it had been 4 years since you'd toured. You had a bit of a break from Winery Dogs, and then you come back with this tour, and all of a sudden, it's like a bromance starts back up, right? You know, you go back to being best friends again, and you're having fun. And now, as a result of the good times you're going to share with us today, we know another album's coming, which just makes me smile. So tell us some of the stories on this last tour that you may have had.
Well, we were really lucky to put the little band together, and thanks to guys like Eddie Trunk and a few other people, we really did well with the band right away. usually it takes a couple of years of touring and record before you start to get anywhere. But we were very grateful. People have been incredibly kind to us and adopted the band really quick. And I would always see Richie Kotzen and think, he's a superstar. He plays amazingly, and he sings so great, and he writes so well. And he's been a dear friend of mine forever too. So
he's a writing machine.
Is that?
He's a writing machine.
Yeah. Yeah, Mark, I don't know if you know, he did our singer in Rhino Dogs, Richie, just turned 50 this year. So he did a record called 50 for 50. He wrote 50 songs for a record. And I talked with him when he was at about 38, and he was like, I don't know if I can do this, man. I'm running out of ideas. But he pulled it off, and there's some amazing stuff on there. So it was pretty cool.
All the guys that you play, all the guitar players you play are simply amazing. And I don't even like guitar players. But there's something else, man. So when I saw you playing with the, what's his name, Brad in Mr. Big, that guy, what's his name? I can't remember his names. Gilbert?
Oh, Paul Gilbert, yeah.
Yeah, Paul Gilbert, yeah. That was amazing.
Yeah,
and
he's
quite amazing. Like that show I saw down here in Houston literally blew me away. Like I wasn't really ready for that.
Oh, cool.
You guys were.
Yeah,
amazing.
he's quite an amazing talent, a wonderful guy, and he's just he would sit 10 hours like you do to have one little thing, and he'd get it. Pretty funny.
Well, now that you guys have brought that up, I'm gonna put this out here because there's a lot of good things that I'm doing with my time off, but there's one thing I just can't get over, and I miss my band. I've been in the same band with these guys for 11 years. Kisag Solis, Mikey Pannone, and Zach Wheeler. Zach came in a bit later. Craig Harris was with us for 8 years on bass. And I'm known for having a fantastically talented band, right? And, I'm bringing this up because I'm at my own level. I'm at a little local San Diego level. But I remember one of our last shows, right? We were on stage and we just did like 5 heavy metal tunes because we could. We had the time we could. And everything in the world just disappeared except the 4 of us, right? 4 of us were on stage. And I just remember getting to that height, that level, and I go, man, we just got to do that all the time. If there was one bad note, that was probably it. You ever have a show like that where you're like, that was so good, And so, but what ends up happening is the euphoria that we feel while performing, once you have an absence of that, it's just, like those are my brothers. Those guys are my brothers. And I know that you feel that everyone in a band that's listening and the 2 men that are here tonight, Billy and Mark, I know you guys are feeling that too. But you know what?
What if it that way?
We are going to play again. We are.
Right.
We're going to get out there and we're going to play live. We just have to be in hiatus for a while, and writing and talking to each other via Zoom is our new life right now. It is what it is. But I just want to say, you may want to say you miss your brothers. I definitely missed my brothers. And I miss Josie, so I didn't mean to leave Josie out, or Alec or Cody. They're in a new 90s band with me, The Groove is in the Heart. But I'm talking my longtime brothers. My brothers. I miss them terribly. From what I could see with you, Billy, you were just doing Sons of Apollo, just released an album this year, and you're getting ready to tour, and this was the Sons of Apollo year, right? I mean, that's what was on fire right now.
We had done a USA run, and we'd just gone to Europe, and things were starting to break before we left, and I thought, I don't know if we should go. So, but we did, and I watch world events pretty closely, and I see things beginning to happen. I said, you guys, if we get stuck over here, if they stop flights from Europe, we could be here for a long time. They don't put you up at the Four Seasons when you're in quarantine. It'll be we were about to go to Russia and the Ukraine. Are wonderful places, but it's those aren't our home countries. So it was going to be would have been a difficult situation. So we did decide to stop the tour. I think we may have been one of the first bands to do so, because we caught a lot of heat right away, because there's deposits that we got to pay back. People bought tickets, and promoters got to refund money, and they were getting upset, and we were worried about, geez, we could generate a couple of lawsuits this way, and man, this could be rough. But we got to do what we got to do. And then right after we announced, about 1,000 bands all pulled the plug. So it kind of took the heat off of us, and everybody began to understand the promoters were getting shut down anyway, the clubs and the gigs. So
you guys did that.
What's that, Mark?
I said you guys pulled the plug on that.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you got like a call. Hey, sorry, the tour's canceled. That's what we're getting right now. All our shows are getting canceled.
Yeah, it's well, we were in Germany for 2 shows, then Norway and Sweden. About to fly into Russia, into Moscow, St. Petersburg, and then Kiev, Ukraine. Now, I played those places before. It's great and it's amazing, but I don't know if I'd want to be stuck
You just had a band meeting and you said, let's go home?
No, we commiserated over it quite, we back and forth on it quite a bit.
You were pretty transparent too. You were transparent in your feelings. I saw the Facebook post that Mike put the minute he put it up, because I have you guys that listed as my hot guys. Them. I want to see their posts, But as soon as he put that up, I go, oh no, they're canceling. This is getting real. Like that, at that point, everything started to feel real because they were.
And as a result, a couple bands that kept touring a little longer. A few guys have gotten sick.
Oh wow.
That I've heard about. So hopefully, was that?
I said I caught it.
You did really?
I had it the day of the show. We had a show, and like I was telling her, I had the day of the show, and then I had to drive back from New York. I don't fly, right? That's the other question I wanted to ask you about your flying.
Whoa. So
I drove from New York back to Houston, and I had it, and it was rough. It wasn't when I got back. It was really bad, and then now everything's great. That was like in January. So let me ask you a question. When you fly, what do you do with your bass?
I can carry it on a soft bag. Goes in the overhead, and I work my ass off to try to get status on the airlines where you're like for United, it's gold status, and once you're up at that status, they usually let you on first, and they don't bother you about your bass. If I have to fly economy sometimes, and wait at the end of the line, sometimes I'll say, sir, we gotta check that. I've had to have them hand check it a couple of times. They take it from you at the jetway door. Never had a problem, but I always also, if I'm on tour, bases are shipped also with the gear.
Oh, okay.
Or checked in flight cases. But man,
I've almost been arrested twice already.
You what?
I said I've almost been arrested twice already from flipping out at the jet.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't want to get on
my bass. They threw my bass once. One time it was missing, and I just went off. And that was like my black bass, so I'm one of a kind bass. I can't have anything happen there. So now I just drive everywhere. I try to drive as much as possible.
That's cool. Well, I got really lucky. There was a pilot that worked for United Airlines who became a friend. And I had a situation with United, and I don't ever post complaints about any specific company or restaurant, but I had to do it. And they gave me a real hard time one time, just really crazy. And I posted about it. He wrote back to me and apologized for United. I said, well, it's not your fault. Right. And then a couple weeks later in the mail, they gave me Global Services, which is,
get out.
I swear to God, their highest thing. And when they board the plane, uniformed military personnel and Global Services. I could put my bass everywhere. So I was so indebted to this guy. He had a son who's quite an amazing musician and a guitar player. So I asked Yamaha, I said, look, these guys have done us a great favor. I pick up my bass on every flight. Yamaha, could you please step up to the plate and could we give his son a guitar?
Nice.
So I told his son, look into the Yamaha catalog and pick one out. I really owe you guys a big favor because of your dad. So he picked one out. I called Yamaha. I said, yeah, it's the X2J, whatever, acoustic guitar. And they called me back and go, man, this is handmade in Japan. It's like $5,000. I go, we don't even have one in the country. I go, well, I'll call him back. So I called him back and he goes, that's cool, whatever, just pick one out for me. He was very nice about it. Then Yamaha called me back and said, hey, we got one. Only problem, it's used. Joe Bonamassa used it on a track. you don't think he'll mind, do you? And I called up and said, "Yeah, you did." So thank you, Yamaha. They were so generous to give him this in return for his dad being so kind and getting me on every flight with my bass. So one hand washes the other.
I've had a pilot that actually was nice to me after I flipped out. He went and got my bass because they didn't know where it was. He came out of the cockpit, went out there and found it and brought it back up.
How great.
You know,
That's
so
awesome. Hey, we're going to bring Michelle Bailey back on, and we're going to let Michelle make a drink. And then we got a very special video from Sons of Apollo that I wanted Dave to show. But let's go ahead and Michelle Bailey, it's time for a refill.
Hi guys, how are ya? Hey, really quick, Billy, I have a kind of a fun story. My Aunt Brenda told me that, well, I'm originally from Reading, Pennsylvania, and Richie is from Birdsboro, which is a suburb of where I'm from. Great. I'm from Exeter Township. He's from Birdsboro. So she messaged me last week and told me that, and I thought, how cool is that, right? Small world.
Small world.
Yeah. Anyway, so just wanted to tell you, I thought that was kind of cool. The next shot I'm going to make you is called a chocolate cake. And I'm again going to use the Absolute Citron. I'm trying to kind of keep simple with what I have at home. I'm going to, since it's just going to be a shot and there's a couple different components, I'm just going to do about an ounce and a quarter of the Absolute Citron. And I'm going to pour that into my shaker. And then some people like to put the Frangelico in the shaker with it. I like to top it on the top of the shot because that way I can kind of see how much is actually going into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shake up the Absolute Citron, get it nice and chilled, strain that into the shot glass. And then I'm going to take Frangelico, which is a hazelnut liqueur, and I'm going to top just probably about a half ounce, maybe a quarter to a half ounce, not too much because you don't want to overpower the citrus. And then you're going to take a lemon slice and dip it into some sugar so that it's kind of coating both sides of it. And you will never believe that citrus vodka, a hazelnut liqueur, lemon, and sugar, when all done together, tastes like a chocolate cake, but it really does. So the way that I do it, I take the lemon and the sugar, and I put that in my mouth, and I kind of hold those juices in my mouth while I do the shot. So here we go.
Cheers.
Cheers. I got my tea.
I've got my red wine.
And if anybody has any questions about any of the drinks that I do, you can feel free to message me over the Full Circle Saloon Facebook page, and I'd be more than happy to give you any suggestions or guidelines. So,
absolutely.
Non-alcoholic drinks I would be interested in.
Absolutely. You're Shirley Temple.
Dave, can you come on? Dave's going to go ahead and cue up a video. This is a 7-minute video, and when I first sent a request to Billy, I said, "Can you send me a clip?" And I was thinking like an intro clip, but then I watched the video and it's so well done. And all people who love Sons of Apollo are on right now. And Dave said that he's going to cue this video up and we're going to go ahead and watch it. The musicianship. Oh my God, the musicianship in this band. Yeah, so I got to get my notes because, okay, Derek SHeehan on the keyboard.
I remember some complicated parts, man. One part of one song, I must have spent 20 hours trying to duplicate it again.
Who wrote it? Who wrote that part?
Was that?
Who wrote the part that you spent 20 hours working on?
Keyboard player. See, that's
I knew it.
Derek SHeehan. Yeah. Oh my
that's
God.
So I had to adapt think of a way to play it. It was crazy.
You the man.
Yeah. Anyways, if you love progressive rock as much as I do, you definitely need to hang out with me more often. But hey, Dave, could you put the Sons of Apollo video on, please? Wow. Okay.
Well, thanks for sitting through that.
No, that was amazing. Again, you know what I love about that band? It's like there's like a groove in there somehow. You know, like
yeah. It was when I first heard that riff. It was jarring initially, but then it settled in, and I thought, this might work, you know. And so and I play almost everything on the bass that's tuned BEAD.
Okay, okay.
That's 4 strings, about 5 or 6. So, and that double neck weighs a ton on top of it. So I'm pulling out these strings that are this big around. So it's a real workout.
No, it's great.
When I was like 14 or 15 and I was just totally into Randy Rhoads and I was just starting to play guitar, I never did become a lead guitar player. I didn't stay with it. I didn't have anyone like you guys telling me I had to play 10 hours a day. I had to go to school, you know. But anyways, I told myself that I was going to mentally memorize every single note to every single solo that he's ever written so that when I get old and my hearing is gone, I could play it in my head. And I've just added that song to my playlist. I'm going to listen to it so much that I can memorize every one of those notes. And that right there is a lot of notes. It's like
A lot.
notes overload. It is so much. And you guys sounded absolutely amazing on it. And the quality of the video, when it's not.
I bought the CD. I'm surprised I haven't gotten a speeding ticket when I was listening to it in my car. Some of those songs,
The Sons of Apollo, MMXX? Yeah. Well, I don't have a CD player anymore.
Well, when I say CD, I bought it on iTunes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me, Billy, all right, tell me a little bit about the making of that video, because it seemed like you're in a warehouse where you guys, you have excellent lighting, you had great cinematography, you had a great editor, everything about it is absolutely fantastic. So where was the location? Where did you guys film that?
Well, it was in LA. We went in one day and shot 3 videos, 3 songs. Wow. And it was by this team, I think they're called Industrial Films. Back in about 2009 with Mr. Big, we found them on Craigslist, this video guys. Because video, Mark, as you know, back in the day, you could spend unlimited cash on videos. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars, crazy. And then you had to pay that money back to the record company with your royalties. So it was, it was always a catastrophe financially. But so we found these guys, and really inexpensive and super effective. And they come in with their team and they rent real high-end gear and they knock them out. It's pretty amazing. We've done most of the winery dogs. I think all the winery dogs since 2009 with Mr. Big, all of those videos. And plus he's done a whole bunch of other bands and friends of mine. So Mark, let me know if you guys doing a video again. You need somebody there. Those guys are awesome.
I know. Who are those guys? Well, you should be plugging them in right now. You should be plugging them, giving them some credit.
What's the name?
No, who was the video team that you were working with?
They're called, I got their name here. I got to find it. Sorry. I think it's Industrial. No, I'd have to look it up. I apologize, but I'll send me a message or a text, and I'll track them down for you.
All right, thanks.
They're these 2 wonderful guys, and the first time we ever did a video with them, it was super cheap, and they did an amazing job. So, and they know what kind of budgets we have now for videos, microscopic compared to how it used to be. So we shot 3 full songs in a day.
So we got some comments on here. I'm going to put my glasses on because I can't see. There we go. The studio, Sandy. Okay. And if anybody that is listening right now, you are able to send us some questions for Billy. It was part of what I told you. If you logged on live, you can open up your chat and you can send us any questions that you may want to ask just for a couple minutes. Everybody's just saying how great this is as far as right now. This is great. You guys rock. This is awesome. Amazing. Hello. Okay, but do you have any questions?
Who's Brock?
That was my phone. Sorry.
Oh no, not you. I mean, there's somebody keeps.
Oh, Brock is he's one of our local listeners. They're talking amongst each other there. Do we have any questions for Billy right now? You guys can enter in the chat. If not, I'll close the chat window and come back to you in a couple minutes. I don't see anything coming up.
What was that line that took you 20 hours to learn?
All right, we'll give them a couple minutes now that they know they can. Stop. I don't have to read no more. All right, so as far as Sons of Apollo goes,
Ron Bumblefoot Thal.
were you planning after this is all done to play in California, Southern California?
Well, we don't necessarily plan where we play. We only play where they book us. We wanted to do another run in the USA after we got done with Europe and South America, but unfortunately, all those plans went up in smoke. But you know, we'll play anywhere we can. Hopefully, we can show us this year. I mean, Mark, you're probably the same at maybe at the end of the year, get some shows in. But the only problem that I'm concerned with is for people to come to the shows, they've been out of work for months, so they don't have much money. So
Right, exactly.
I don't mind going in and playing super cheap because I just want to play. I want people to enjoy it and get over this, So we'll work something out with promoters where we can get our costs paid for the most part, and then I'll eat what they would normally pay me, just initially here for. If that'll help, I would do that in order to play,
Well, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and plug me. I have a way of getting stuff done, and I have a way of getting people to sponsor Carly's cause.
Well, already.
You know what I'm saying? And so they cover the fee for the talent. The sponsors will cover the fee for the talent. So we've been really building that up. And I got to say, the big difference was the first time I'd contacted you, I just had an idea.
Yeah.
My ideas usually just grow into big things. I've always been that way. But now we are partnered with Mount Sinai. It's a totally different game.
Great.
That's a very creditable hospital, research hospital, one of the biggest in the world.
Right.
And so when I make a phone call to a sponsor, I say that I'm calling on behalf of Mount Sinai. It's a different phone call than San Diego's local Carly's Cause, which Carly's Cause is known very well here in Southern California. But Mount Sinai is worldwide.
Spin Doctors and the Winery Dogs.
I
Insane.
absolutely think that would be a lot of fun. We'd have to have two different stages, perhaps.
No, that would be awesome, man.
All right.
I got to tour with Victor Wooten once, and if I tour with Billy, that would be like, if I did a show with Billy, that would be just insane.
Yeah, Victor is, he lives here in Nashville also.
Yeah, that's the other thing I want to ask you. Why did you move to Nashville?
Well, I love LA, but it was just getting kind of falling apart.
Right.
The homeless situation was really out of control, and I lived in a very nice spot, Sherman Oaks, and even there, people with beautiful, expensive home would come home and find homeless people bathing in their hot tub in the backyard. And
Wow.
it just really became dangerous and confrontational. A lot of them are. Sadly, I don't know how we're ever going to resolve that problem, but boy, it was just getting worse and worse. We had a couple of incidents near us, and I'm on tour. My wife's home alone, so I don't worry about her being back there. So we made the move.
Do you like Nashville?
She loves it, yeah. She got involved in real estate. She sold 9 houses in her first year, and she doesn't speak native English. She's from Italy, so she hit it hard, man. She did really good. She loves doing it too. But there's a real Southern hospitality here, and it really is Music City. A lot of people are calling it the new LA in a lot of ways. A lot of people here, it's just a booming music situation.
So a lot of people happy to see you move there?
I think so. I hope so. We haven't had any rocks thrown through our window yet, but the night is young.
Because it's you and Victor in the same town. I mean, my head explodes every time I think about it.
Well, Jeff Berlin moved here too.
Oh my God.
Okay, so now I'm gonna ask my last set of questions for Billy, and it's going to be about Talus, which I'm going to be honest, I didn't know too much about. I just started listening to some clips that I've heard because I saw you posting about it, that you did some shows last year, and I follow you, right? I follow you, so I'm like, okay, what's this that he's doing? So tell me about how you formed that band, became part of that band, because that one.
One of my out of high school, I was in a horn band, a couple of little bands, but Talus became my main vehicle from about 71 or 72 on, and went through many changes, member changes and flip-flops and stuff like that through the year, but we consistently, that was my main band. And in 1980, we opened up for Van Halen for about 30 shows, and that led me to meet Ed and Dave Roth and stuff like that. So that's where that led to. But it was a bar band. We started out playing all cover tunes, humping, 3 or 4 sets a night. We did 21 shows in a row one time, 3 complete shows in one day.
Wow, that's crazy.
One time. So we just loved.
So did he opened up for, what did Van Halen think when he saw you?
Billy's lost his connection for just a second. You'll be back.
1980?
Yeah, when you opened up for them, what did 80s? I mean, he must have flipped out.
Well, they were really cool. They were very nice to us. They let us take an encore a couple times, and they were really cool. I mean, the headline acts can choose how they want to treat the opening acts. Do nothing, be nice to them, or work against them. And,
Right.
and the guys in Van Halen were really nice. And Ed was just a sweet, wonderful guy, and he was very, very kind to me. And we, from that, developed, actually, we spoke a couple of times about the possibility that I might be able to join their band.
Right.
It never came to be, but we did speak about it on 3 or 4 different times. So
You like Van Halen on the bass.
yeah, so in the end, I don't know if it would have worked, or they could just have me go. Go, Eddie, go. Yeah, I would have loved that. That would have been great because I love that band so much. And so then, one thing led to another. After my connection there, I got a call but I said I'd never leave Talus unless I got asked to join Van Halen. And so when Dave called, I said, close enough. And I was gone. So I took off. So now lately we got back together and played with the original lineup, and we're going to do a record. So.
Okay. That's
Look,
awesome.
I got one more question.
Okay, one more for you, Mark.
So Dave was before Mr. Big?
Yeah.
Oh, you see, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
85. Summer of 85, we started that. I started a tour with Talus opening for Yngwie.
Uh-huh.
And just before the tour started, our first show was in LA. So I went out to Dave's house and he said, because he told me initially, they called me and said Dave was doing a movie, he wanted me to be in the movie. I thought, what? Turns out I got to his house, I go, yeah, there is a movie, but that's a cover story. He goes, you can't tell anybody, but I quit Van Halen, I'm starting a band. You join me, we'll find a guitar player and drummer and go. And I said, I'm in. So I had to do that whole tour, knowing that I was going to quit at the end of it without saying anything.
So how did y'all find Steve Vai, though? Did you do that?
You're stealing my thunder, Mark.
Oh, man.
Well, Steve and I were on the same label. Talus and Steve were on the same label, Relativity Records.
Uh-huh.
And so I had actually talked with Steve at one point about doing something together with him before Dave was involved. And so Dave's initial choice was Steve Stevens.
Oh, okay.
But Steve didn't really, he was into Billy Idol, and he's an amazing player. And
Right.
he wasn't. So I told Dave, I know another Steve.
Oh,
Steve
man,
Vai.
that's insane.
And so he came in. He was perfect. He did that Frank Zappa
Totally.
and stuff like that. And so we're still to this day. Steve's like a brother to me. He's just the greatest. And
You guys are great together. I gotta tell you, man, I'm jealous of that. That's
So here's my dream concert for a Carly's Cause fundraiser for metal fans, right? And I'm going to be doing one for country music too, and so I'm not just limiting it to metal. But I had this idea because I'm friends with Mike Keneally, who played with Frank Zappa as well, and he's played on stage. He's done that dueling guitar thing with Steve Vai, and I got to meet Jeremy Colson, who's a phenomenal drummer, and I wanted to get you, Mike, Steve, and Jeremy to do a few songs on stage. So that means that I would need to get a budget for Steve's band, get a budget for Winery Dogs, and then just throw you guys on together for something. And that would be a whole lot of fun. And that would be like, okay, I can die now. I'm just kidding. I don't want to. But that's like the ultimate. Those are some of my favorites. You guys are all my favorites. And that's that.
Yeah, I was very privileged to work with Mike Keneally when I first joined Steve's band. I toured with Steve for a couple times. And Mike Keneally was the initial keyboard player. What a brilliant player and wonderful guy. And
yes.
I do anything with any of those guys. So
he carried the Carly's Cause fundraiser that I had talked to you about the first time, and it was a success. And he went and did news spots for me. He's such a sweet guy, incredibly talented. We did songs from the Beatles' White Album. Him and Jeremy came up and played with us.
Right.
And, we rocked out some of the White Album, which I'll be honest, that's the hardest music I've ever learned. And you don't think it when you're listening to it.
It's
complex. It's a lot of harmonies and there's a lot going on vocally. There's a lot going on with all the musical parts. And to get it to where we did justice to it, we only had 2 rehearsals that were solid rehearsals. Then we had a bunch of smaller ones. And it was everybody do your homework and show up knowing your parts. But it was a great show, and I really want to get you out to the next one. I'm going to find a budget to make sure this happens. But we're going to bring Michelle Bailey on right now, and we're going to let her take us out with one more cocktail for the road. I want to give a special thank you.
You got a question
coming in. Oh, I'm going to get questions and answers last, but I want to say thank you to you for coming in last minute like that. You're always a pleasure to hang out with. And
great time. It was better when I was here by myself.
Let's see. Okay, I'm not seeing questions coming in for Billy on the chat. I'm not sure.
What are Billy's interests outside of playing?
What's that?
I'd like to see his cooking updates. What are your interests outside of playing? They like to see your cooking updates.
Well, oh yeah, I do a lot of cooking at home, especially now because there's no restaurants open. But I most everything is about music. Like I'm here in my little studio, and I've got an iTunes collection that I work on every day, making sure all the titles are right and the correct cover art. And I collect this. I specialize in the best music and the worst music. So I have some of the most horrifying, terrible, dreadful, awful catastrophes that were ever recorded, and some of the most mind-blowing, amazing, cool stuff too. So when we get a couple people over, we have an iTunes night. And Mark, if you're ever in Nashville, you're invited. And,
Thank you.
Sandy, but we have a couple glasses of wine and we start digging through and finding stuff, and it is a riot. We have so much, and I got demos from all these bands and isolated tracks, and we just have an amazing time. So that's another big thing. But we have a new kitty cat. I'm surprised he hasn't been down here.
I was going to ask you about Rebel. I wanted to see him on film, but I didn't see him pop in.
He may stop in here in a minute. He is a wild man. He's the sweetest little guy, but he's not so little anymore. He's almost 12 pounds now. He's getting big.
Oh, that was quick. He was tiny.
The growth spurt.
Well, Michelle Bailey, can you come on and give us one more round for people attending our happy hour?
Absolutely. I am going to do our dessert martini. That's what I like to end with. I'm going to be featuring, once again this week, I'm featuring my dear friend Paul Thomas. He owns Julian Hard Cider, which is local here in Julian, California. He created a chocolate whiskey called 8 Ball. If you go to 8ballwhiskey.com, you can put in your zip code and find out like where you can find it around you. It's unbelievable, and I love to feature it because I like to support local. So I'm going to be doing a chocolate covered cherry martini. You can use cherry vodka if you have it, any kind of like cherry flavoring. What I have at home right now is grenadine. That's what's going to work for tonight. So I'm going to put some ice in the shaker. I am going to do 2 ounces of the 8 Ball chocolate whiskey, because you always want 2 ounces of your main liquor, unless you have 2 main liquors. Then you want to split it, obviously, 1 and 1. And then I'm going to do just about a half or so ounce of Bailey's, just to kind of give it a nice creamy color and creamy texture. And then I'm going to do a little splash of grenadine, not too much because you don't want it to overpower the chocolate, but you want to give that cherry flavor. And we're going to go ahead and shake this up. And strain it out. It's actually even really a fun color. It's kind of a chocolate cherry color, which is fun. So the way that I've been liking to end my portion of being on this show is giving my gratitude. Thank you so much, Sandy, for having me be the guest bartender this week. It's been an absolute blast. Mark and Billy, it's such an honor to hear your stories and share this time with you. I also like to say not only support Full Circle, but when we get back to it, support all your local pubs, all your local restaurants, anything local really keeps business alive, your local bands. We will be back at it and we will get this rolling again. And just remember that we're all in this together, okay? So right. I'll do my final cheers and then Sandy will take over.
Okay, cheers. Cheers.
Pure leaf tea.
You know, I'd never ever drink when I perform anymore. I did.
I don't drink at all.
So I usually do my cheers with club soda, so don't feel bad there, Mark. All right, you guys, this has probably been one of the best hours of my quarantine. Thank you so much for spending this time. What I'd like to do is get the video of our little show over to you guys, and you can share it with your friends as well.
Thank you.
So they can see us just chilling out in our house, having fun. And Billy and Mark both, I'll be in touch with you about various fundraisers. I actually did have Mark in line for one in New York because that's where Mount Sinai is. And I was going to talk to Spin Doctors about that because it's kind of your home. We'll see. I'm pretty good at hunting people down. And Billy, I told you what my dream concert is. I'll start working on that now. Now remember something on Secret Knock that I heard, and we all need to get this perspective in our heads. Okay, look, the world has been reset right now. The whole world is reset, and we're all at the same starting line. What are you doing for launch? And I can tell you right now that this show is just part of my idea, but what I'm doing for launch is I'm gonna still build that concert series. And it's gonna be everything it's ever been in my head, because I have really clear visions on this. And when I think about it, I get chills. Like, this is it. This is exactly all the skills I have. It comes to this. It comes to saving these kids, right? So with Carly's Cause, what we're doing is this form of autism. So you understand, the form of autism, it's a genetic one that spreads to organs too. And what we're doing is we're getting the research to preserve those children for longevity, so they can live a long, happy life. And it's a really important thing to do. Once you get to a certain point in your life where you've accomplished all these different goals, it's time to give back, right? And that's what we're doing for all of our viewers tonight. This is just free to your home. I appreciate everybody logging on and everybody watching the Facebook stream. We'll be back on Wednesday night at 6 p.m. with Greg Douglas from the Steve Miller Band, and I can't remember the other band that he was in, but Steve Miller was, you know, where he actually co-wrote some of the songs, and he was a big part of the success of Steve Miller Band. And then opening up our very own Rosie Dawn. I'm still looking to see who I'm going to confirm for Friday, but your local Friday next week is going to be none other than John Capel from Mindcell, and he's going to be talking about some of his original stuff that he's doing. He's one of our local favorites, just like Taz Taylor, and we're going to have Taz Taylor back on as well since he couldn't participate tonight, most likely next Friday with John Capel. So we'll probably double up on the local scene. All right, you guys, thank you so much, and we will see you next week. Cheers. Have a good night. All right.
Thanks so much. Great to hang with you all.
You too.
Mark, Michelle, Sandy, and Dave, too, who put this all together. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Good night, you all.
Good night.
Bye-bye.